All right, testing 1, 2, 3. All right, testing 1, 2, 3. Okay. All right, so welcome to the stream again. And today we're going to be going over on how to fix and finish implementing the weapon pickup system. We're also going to be going over on how to add the functionality for the character to be able to equip the weapon, finish the functionality for the character to be able to drop the weapon, and etc. So that's going to be it for today's tutorial. Maybe after we finish all of this, we're going to be adding multiple other types of weapons, like this one right here, the rifle. So we have right now we have two types of weapons, the pistol and the rifle. Now for the rifle pose, the character, when the character holds, for setting up the overlay state of the rifle, we still have to set that up. Right now we only have the pistol overlay pose, which is this one right here. I'm going to the animation graph. If you click here on the overlay layer where all the states are, as you can see right here, you only have the pistol one hand. So you're gonna have to search. So you're gonna have to add a new one. So which is going to be for the rifle, but we're not gonna do that right now. So just that you know what we're going to be going over in this live, if time permits. If time permits. All right. So let's see what we have right now. I think we have, and by the way, the links for downloading this project is in the description down below. Let me just put it in the chat. Yeah, I think I'm gonna put it later. But if you go over the older lives, like the devlog hashtag 9, if you scroll down to the comments, you're going to be able to see the link for downloading all the project files from where I left. So you're going to be able to download and access that link to download the project files, so you can have the most recent version as I have right now on this one right here. So let me see where I left. Right, stopped. So if you can press F to pick up the weapon, you can aim, blah, 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 everything okay. Now, I think the key that I chose for dropping the weapon is G. So as you can see, the character has a little bit of like snapping effect. I don't know why that's happening right now. So as you can see, when I press G, the character's hand just snaps a little bit. So I'm gonna have to try to figure out why that is happening right now. Of course, we could have a animation to play for the character to drop the weapon, or maybe that's not something that we should worry about right now. But all those little bugs, they can annoy you in the future if you don't fix them, because as you add more complex code on top of each other, if you don't fix the bugs before you add the complex code after, you're not going to really know. You're going to like lose control. You're going to like lose control of the bugs that are going to happen after. So you really need to master and control and have like full control over the code that you're building, because it can get complex really quickly, as it is right now. It is already very complex in here. As you can see, we have a lot of cache cache poses. We save cache poses. We use caches to make everything work well. And we really have to make sure that we have full control over what we're doing, so that we don't lose control over the code. Okay. Okay, so let's try to see what's happening here. So if you go right here, simulate, let's try to pick up the weapon. Let me see. Okay. Press F. No, press G. Okay. Let me just close all the other tabs. No, it's okay. So when I press G, press F again, press G. Okay, it should be somewhere around here. Maybe here. It tells me that weapon wasn't detected, even though... Yeah, we have that kind of bug, but we can fix it after this one. Press F, press G. Yeah, I don't know. Just see again. Okay, it should be somewhere in the overlay layer. Something very interesting here is that this, when you click on this transition rule here, oh, hello, fun fact. Let me give you a hi in the chat. Something really interesting happens here is that when you click on the transition rule, going back from overlay state to default, you can see that you have options to select the transition in here. And the blend logic is inertialization. But when you click on this one, I don't know. Okay, maybe this one going from default to overlay state, as this is another type of state. I don't remember. I think it's a conduit. Sorry, my voice is really bad. Hold on. All right, it's better now. Okay. All right. So as this is a conduit type of state, we don't have that those options here because there's no transition. There's no transition duration from going to default, as this is a state conduit. So I think that's the reason why we don't have that. But something really interesting here is that you have to pay attention is that when you click here on the type of, when you click on the transition rule going back to default, as you can see, going back to ball, going to pistol to H, as you can see, the blend logic is inertialization. That's a very hard name for me to pronounce. Inertialization. Inertialization. The blend logic is that type of. It has that type of blend logic. As you can see, we also have the standard blend, and I think the only difference is that the inertialization type of, as a blend of logic, if you select that option, I think the only difference is that it makes the animations to run more smoothly. It doesn't like have those. I don't know. I think it makes the blend a little bit more smoother. And for using that type of blend logic, you have to have a inertialization node, as like this one right here, in your graph, right? So you just have to type inertialization, inertialization node. So as you can see right here, if you have the node available for you to be able to use. So as soon as you click on the node, there's nothing like really important for you to be setting up in here. And nothing changes until you change something in here. Let's say you can, use, as soon as you add that node, you can use the inertialization node in here. And that's about it. You also have the dead blending node, which you can use more options other than the inertialization, but both works pretty much almost the same thing. I think both they have almost the same result, but if you're having issues with inertialization, you can use dead blending, or vice versa. It's very up to you to choose which one works best. It's just that the dead blending has you can choose a default blend duration. So if you always use the default blend settings option in here, and mark it as true, all of the transition rules are going to be set to be that default value of 25 seconds. So the transition rules are going to last 25 milliseconds. So I think that's the main difference of those. Fun fact said, a big fan of the channel and the tutorials. Do you have any advice for a 15 years old wanting to be a game dev and learning UI5? Well, you can start watching tutorials. That's pretty much the way I started. And you have a pretty good age to start as a 15 years old. I think if you start at 15 years old and start watching the tutorials and start like making your own, your own code and learning from your mistakes, I think at 18 years old you're going to be able to work for companies. I think you can do pretty much what I did, create your own YouTube channel and start teaching people as well. I think it's going to be a lot better for you to be able to show other people like how, where you started, and be able to teach people how to do the stuff that you did. And eventually companies are going to be searching for you. You don't really need to search for companies. The companies are going to search for you to from your videos on YouTube, from your tutorials, or you can also show projects that you've made. If you're interested in that, you can post it on YouTube and show the progress, and eventually companies are going to search for you. I also recommend you to make a LinkedIn page where you can also show your projects to the Unreal Engine groups that they are available in there. Danilo said, "Hi, I watched many of your tutorials, though I have one question. When you step on the gun in the previous tutorial, I think it was yesterday, it works fine, but in my project it explodes. What do you mean by explode? I changed the weight and noticed that standing downward force set to 0 helps, but it also cancels the influence of the character to the object it is standing on. Any ideas? What kind of result do you expect? Do you expect the result like this? Like when you step on the gun, it doesn't influence the character, but you can still move the gun when you step on it? Is that the kind of result that you wish you have, or let me know. character flies up and the gun object goes for... Ah, okay, so you're having collision issues. Maybe... did you follow the same collision settings that I showed in here? The collision settings I've chose. I don't know how I got to this collision setting, but you can try it on your own. If you go to the... Of course, you have to have a skeletal mesh to do this. Because if you have a static mesh, then I think it's going to be different. I'm not sure. I haven't tested it with the static mesh, but if I have any issues, I'm gonna have to come back to this. But essentially, for the pistol 1H blueprint, what I've done for the collision settings, if you click on the skeletal mesh and go down to the collision settings, for the physics, we have the simulate physics option to be on. If you want the pistol to move a little bit slower, you can change the linear damping to like multiply it to be... You can multiply this value to 2 or 3. Generally, you would set like the angle damping to 1 and the linear damping to 0.1 to make the physics to work a little bit slower. And for the can character step up on, I set it to be owner. Collision presets is custom. Collision enable is physics only. No carry collision. The object type is going to be world dynamic, and you have those options to set up in here. And those are the options. I think you can follow the same. Now, going back to the sandbox character, you can go to the mesh of the character and set these options in here. So collision enable is query only, no physics collision. The object type is going to be physics body, and you have all these other options in here. Now, going to the capsule component, you also have to set it up, the collision settings. So can character step up on? No, and you have to follow these settings here. Are you sure you followed those ones? This is what I expected, but I could not see the physics for this. I followed for the object, but I cannot find the physics settings for the character. If you can show the character movement physics interaction of the pawn, you would have character movement physics interaction. Character movement physics. Character movement physics. What is that? We had the character movement the component. This is the component. I haven't changed anything in here. The only settings I changed was the collision settings of the mesh. I think that's the only ones that you should be worried about. So you can just pretty much copy all of this and copy all the collision settings of the capsule component, which is these ones right here. Let me know if you got it. All right, so let's continue because I don't have too much time. So, so the thing I notice here is that when you go back to in here, as we have this inertialization node, and in the ALS we have the blend logic set as inertialization, we're going to do the same. So we're going to just going from overlay state to pistol 1H. You can click on the transition rule and then change the blend logic to inertialization. And then you can just compile, save, and that's it. Now going back to default, we also set the blend logic to inertialization. So I think that's going to be solving the issue. I'm not sure. Let's try it out. I think that's the main issue that we have. So when you press G, yeah, it changes back to, let me just check the transition rule. If I set the blend setting as 1 second to go back to the default state, I think it's going to be a lot smoother when you drop the weapon. That's the main type of achievement I want to get. Let me press G. Yes, that's pretty much it. That's the result that I want. I don't want the character to just drop the weapon like too much abrupt. If you want the character to snap while he drops the weapon, when he drops the weapon, you can choose to be 0 there, as I've said in there. So as soon as you choose to drop the weapon, pressing G, as you can see, the character's hand, or the right character's hand, it snaps. So you can pretty much decide like what kind of blend you want to have in here. I'm going to choose to be like 55 milliseconds. That's the blend duration that I want. And the blend logic is inertialization, so that way I can have a more smoother, realistic, humanized type of blend, if that makes sense. The standard blend also does the job, but I like the inertialization also more. So as soon as you press G, yeah, as you can see, maybe 75. I think that's gonna do the job. All right, so let me just check what is the actual value in that for the ALS. When you go back to the default state, yeah, we set the duration to 0.2, but let me see. But that's because, as you can see, the character kind of snaps. If you don't want that snap effect, you can change the duration in here. So let's set to be 1. So going back to the default pulse, it's going to be a lot smoother. So as you can see right here, when you have the rifle and change it back to the default, as you can see, the character has a lot, it's a lot more smoother. Anyways, let's go back to 0.2 as it was. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Hello, Uves. Thank you very much for the advice. Right now, I can do basic AI, but yeah, to do perception and stuff. I'm also focused on getting better at animation with 3Pete and his plugin. Yeah, that's good. I'm also waiting to do AI in the future, but for me, I'm going to just stick with locomotion first. When I master locomotion, I think I'm going to move to AI locomotion systems, because I want to achieve I'm willing to achieve a good result as it is in the Last of Us AI. I'm pretty much fascinated about like how the AI in the Last of Us 2 they move, and like how the perception system works. It's very interesting to see the AI like choosing, making the choices itself. It's very interesting. And if you combine like real locomotion, a good locomotion system, like there is in the ALS or there is in the GASP system, if you combine with AI, the game is pretty much done, honestly. You can just like create the levels and that's it. The game is done. All right. Let me see. I'm gonna have to fix the bug of the weapon pickup system logic. I'm gonna enable back the box trace for object, and I'm gonna set it to be for duration so that I can see what's going on. I'm also going to disable the pulse watch, and it's right over here in the layer blending. And toggle the pulse watch in here so I can compile, save. I'm going to delete this pulse stand base because we already have it in here. And we're going to just organize this a little bit better. All right. Yeah, I've just closed everything. All right. Another thing I like to do is get get a get this variables to be read somewhere in the graph. So because we really need to get the we really need to get to read the variables. It's very important for us to know which variable is false, which variable is true. So we can create some kind of event in the event tick to really debug everything to find out bugs as we have right there. So the bug that we have right now is that when you pick up the weapon, as you can see right here, if you press G, if you try to pick up again, it works. But if you try press G again and then press F, as you can see, we have this bug that it says that the weapon wasn't detected, right? So you cannot pick up weapons again. So what I'm going to do here is that we're going to have to update all these booleans in here. And what we're going to do is print string. And we're going to collapse this to a function. And we're going to call this debugging or debug function. So what we're going to basically do is get all the variables they want to debug into the graph. Of course, we're going to have to separate those later. Separate those later. And classify them in here. Let me just go over the debugging graph. When you press on play, as you can see, we already have a print string value in there. I think that's in the sandbox character event graph. Yeah, there we go. So I'm just going to delete that. We don't need that anymore. So delete that. Okay. So here we can start making the debugging function. So here we can do a append node. We can write the name of the variable. Let me just see if I can type. What does that do? Okay. Name. Can I just convert this variable to get the name? Can I just get the name of this variable somehow? Okay. How do I get the name of a variable? So I guess we're just gonna have to type, so can pick up weapon. I usually give this a little space in here so that the code can be, it's much easier to read. So the key is going to be 1 so that it doesn't overlap with the other print strings. So when you press play, can pick up weapon is true. I'm going to set the text color to be maybe, I usually select white or green. Or blue. I think blue is better. I think green is better. Alright, so this is going to be for this one. This one. How long have you been using UE5? Did you start with a different engine? At first I started with Unity, but I found it very complex to, very confusing for me at first. I started with trying to make a simple game following a tutorial, 2D game. But I ended up giving up, and then after some years, I started using Unreal Engine, and then I found it much more clear, much more like the UI is much more clean. You don't necessarily need to know. You don't necessarily need to have programming skills, because you can just place graphs. You just gotta really know what you're doing. And I found it like much easier to use. And then I went from there. Is this variable being used? I'm not sure. Yes, it is being used. Okay, so we need to get it to be a little bit spaced. So the key here is on the print string, as we have a lot of print strings, if they all have the key to be set to be 1. If they all have the key set to be 1, what's going to happen is that it's only going to show the first one. So it's not going to show the rest of the variables. But if you try to if you set the key to be separate, so let's say this is key 1, 4, so each individual print string has to have their own unique key so that it doesn't overlap with the other print strings. So that's it. So as you can see, now we have all the other variables. Now I just need to change the names of them to be correct. This animation, overlay state. Okay, so block movement input. This has to be an exclamation mark. There has to be boom. Found pistol exclamation. Explanation. Exclamation. There you go. Now everything is a lot more clear now. As you can see, you pretty much know what's going on. I think a very useful node for this case, a very useful feature that I recommend you guys to do is the slow motion, because the slow motion feature allows you to really know what's going on, and you know, you can be able to fix and debug animation issues at runtime. And in real time, you can identify those issues and fix it later. Now there are so many variables to watch, and I'm confused which one to look at. Okay, so one thing that I like to do in here is to set the text color to match if the variable is true or not. I guess we can do that as well, but it's very much up to you to decide if you want to do that or not. It's going to make the text to be a lot more clear. So when a variable becomes true or false, you pretty much know what's going on the screen. So I think I'm gonna do that as well. So you can pretty much decide which variable is turning to be true or false. Select the color. Yeah, I think that's going to be a lot easier to deal with later. It's going to make it a lot more clear. So I'm gonna do that real quick. So the color of the print string is going to depend if the variable is true or false. So if the variable is false or true, we're going to, so if the variable is true, I'm going to select the green color. If the variable is false, I'm going to select the B color, which is red. And just going to follow up with that. Let me just check if it's working at all. Yes, it is working, as you can see. So I'm just going to continue to select the text color until... Now, in this case, the overlay state doesn't really have a true or false. You can't really hold a true or false data type. So I'm just going to leave it as that. It doesn't really... Well, one thing that I like to do in here is just select the color to match the variable type. So in this case, it's a enumerator. So I'm just going to match the text color of the print string to that enumerator color so that it can stand out nicer. I'm just going to select a more clear variable there. So it matches. Just going to organize this a little bit better. Boom. All right, so now as you can see, the print string text color changes depending on the state of the variable, and that's going to be a lot more clearer for us to be able to debug things easier. So I'm gonna press F in slow motion. So now we block the movement input is true, weapon detect is true. Now play pickup animation is true. Now it's false. Weapon is detected is true. Found pistol is true. I think this weapon is detected is true. I don't think we really need to keep this variable to be true after we complete the action of picking up the weapon, because this variable is automatically set to be false as soon as we try to pick up another weapon. Yeah, I don't know. Let's set this weapon detector to be false. I don't like that to be true every time. So I'm going to go back to the weapon pickup logic. And as you can see, we have this variable here. Anyway, it gets to be set to be false as soon as we execute another we execute a function to pick up the weapon. But as soon as we finish picking up the weapon, it doesn't really make sense to just keep holding it. Yeah, it should be false. I'm not sure why it is on at all. It should be false anyways. So let me just see if this function is being executed at all. So when I press F, yeah, we're having issues with IK. Is that the foot is trying to step up on the weapon. It's really funny. Yeah, it's really annoying. But you can fix that later. So as you can see, the weapon detected is still true. I'm not sure if that's true. I'm not sure if that's true. Let me just see event graph. Is it really true? Weapon is detected. Let's see and search for that node. Okay. Watch this. Yeah, it is true. So here you can click to also watch this value at runtime. So you can click here on the variable, or just hover over it so that you can see the weapons detected is true, the variable. And I'm not sure why it is true, because it should be false. So that's a thing that I don't like. I think this function in here is not being executed. It's not being canceled. Maybe it's not about this function right here. It's about executing in this pickup line in here. So as soon as the character picks up the weapon and it picks up successfully, we can disable that weapon detected variable to be false. Okay. Let me just see if it's going to press F. Yeah, it executes. So at the very end, I'm just going to set to be false so that it clears the box trace results. So as you can see, when you pick up the weapon again, now the weapon detected is false, because we're not in the process of picking up the weapon or detecting the weapon now after we pick it up. So all the code that we're seeing here after it becomes true, this is the process where we attach the weapon. So everything else in here is just, everything further from this is just the character picking up the weapon. Just connect this into here. All right, so everything else in here, just pick up weapon phase. That's it. Just resuming everything. All right. Hey y'all. New dance move unlocked. Yeah, exactly. I feel the same about Unity. I did not know which one to pick, but then looked at the UI and that shows you Unreal Engine. I believe the Unreal Engine will last longer and is more the future than Unity. Yes. I think Unreal Engine they launch a lot of features, a lot more features compared to Unity. I think the community is a lot stronger and there are more tutorials available out there. And the tutorials I found with Unity is a lot more clear. I started watching, when I first started watching Unreal Engine tutorials, I started watching Matt Asplin. I started watching this channel in here and I just, and for me it was a lot more clear. You can really see that the explanations are really clear what's going on. I didn't really understand about any node right here, like calculate direction, how to promote variables. And I really followed up without doing any course or following up any course because I wanted to do things by myself and really come up with something that made sense for me. And I just tried to follow those tutorials, and for me it's a lot more simpler. It was a lot more clear for me to follow that path. So can pick up animation, can pick up weapon is true. It is still true. Maybe pick up weapon has to be false right now because we just picked up a weapon, and as I've told everybody, as I've told you guys on the last stream, I want to make it so that if the character picks up the weapon and if he has the weapon in his hand, he cannot be able to pick up a new weapon again. It doesn't matter what type of weapon or object. So I want to know if the character has the ability to pick up a new weapon. And basically for the character to be able to pick up a new weapon, either the character has to, draw, I don't know. Is this live recorded? Is this live or recorded? This is live and it is going to be recorded so you can watch later. All right, let's see what we're gonna do here because there are plenty of ways you can do this. I don't know how it is in the ALS, in the Last of Us 2, because I think in the Last of Us 2, as soon as you progress the game, you find new weapons, and the new weapons you find, they are not the same. Like for example, if you find a pistol once, you're not going to be able to find it again in the game. You can find another type of gun, like a revolver, which is a little bit more different. But you're not going to be able to find the same weapon. And yeah. So what we're gonna do here is maybe, let me see. I need to think a little bit. Let's go back to paint. So if the character has the pistol, So if the character already has the pistol, he's not going to be able to pick a new pistol. Either if he has a pistol holding on his hand or in the pocket holstered. Got it. Hello someone, hi from Thailand. I just watched your video that helped me a lot. I just want to say thanks. You're welcome. For some reason I cannot aim anymore. Okay. When I hold the sprint button, I cannot aim anymore. Yeah, that makes sense. That is like that in the ALS too. If you sprint while aiming, let me just get the pistol. If you click on, oh, you cannot even in the ALS. If you're aiming and if you try to sprint, pressing the left shift, you cannot sprint because you're aiming. And if you're sprinting and you decide to aim, then the character reduces its speed and stops sprinting until you release the key. I think it should be the same in the GASP system. As soon as if you're aiming with a weapon, you cannot press the shift key because you're aiming. I think we should set that to be that way later. But I think that's for later. That's a very simple implementation that doesn't require complex code to be implemented. So I'm just comment this block movement input so that so the character to prevent bugs. I don't know if this is really necessary. What happens if I don't do this? Yeah, I don't know why I've done this, but in case if the character is walking or aiming, we're going to disable those features. It's just that this is just how it works. And I'm just going to choose how the character is going to which state the character should be set to after he picks up the weapon or before he picks up the weapon. So you want to choose those states. So you can choose it here if you want to, but that's just optional to you. Maybe you want to the character to be able to walk, so that you can just check this check marking here after picking up the weapon, or you want the character to be aiming. Not sure. You can choose character state after weapon pickup. I don't like this bug. So Let me try to solve that. So if you go to the pistol 1H, the object type is dynamic. But as soon as the weapon is in the character's hand, we change the collision type to be no collision. So we should really set the object type. Yeah, I'm not sure how to fix this one because I need to know how the IK works, and which collision type do they detect. I need to know that for sure. Let's see, collision. Here, visibility. Okay, so the complex trace channel is visibility. We also have the camera and traversable. Okay. Okay, so the visibility is block. If I set it to be ignore, but then my trace is not going to be able to identify, or is it? I'm not sure. Let's say we just duplicate the weapon and just put it right here. Just put this weapon right here. Let me just see if it's going to. It is going to work. When I drop the weapon, I cannot pick up anymore. Oh, okay. So that makes sense now. So I think that's the fix for the weapon system, for the lag IK issue. Just set the collision responses should be visibility. Ignore the visibility so that the foot placement does not is not detected by the pistol is not detected as a object for the foot placement node in here as it traces for the visibility type. So if you ignore the visibility, as I've done in here, if you go back to the pistol, so if you ignore the visibility, the foot placement is not going to be identifying the weapon anymore as a object to step up. So that's why we had that bug there. Yeah, so that's it. I think the real bug fix for this is for us to separate things. So the ideal solution for this would be to create a new trace channel, which is by going to the edit, project settings, go to the collision settings, and here we have the trace channel. So you can add a new trace channel, and here we can choose to like foot placement, for example. Foot placement channel. So select that and go back to the pistol. And here we have, okay, I think we have to close and then reopen it again for it to appear. Go back to the pistol, go back to the collision settings. And now we have the foot placement channel option in here, so you can either block or ignore. So that the IK can only work with those channels. Let me just go to visibility. So as you can see here, foot placement. So the trace settings for the foot placement, I'm not sure if yeah, it's only that. So for the foot placement, if you want to choose where, like which surface the foot placement should work, the IK for the legs should work, it's just by setting up the complex trace collision to be set to be foot placement channel, as we chose in there. So I'm just going to choose that as to be right there. I don't know if this is going to work at all. I'm just testing new things to see if they work, just exploring the system because I don't really know much about IK. All right, so if you click on the static mesh of this cube, as you can see, if you go down to the collision settings, it's all set to block, which means that the foot placement is going to work. But if you set it, if you go down to the collision settings in the static mesh and select the foot placement to be ignored, then the IK, I think it's not going to work. Maybe. So as you can see, the IK is not going to work. But of course, the character feed is going to glitch on the ground. If you ignore everything, let me see. That makes sense. Yeah, the character feed is still going to... Oh, because it detects something is in there. I guess we have to make another type of collision settings. Zebra curve. Something here in the event graph. Not sure where. Yeah, I'm not sure yet. But anyways, we can try to figure out things later. This was just a test to see if it's going to work. But now I don't really need to to focus on this right now. So I'm just going to set everything back to the normal. So this is going to be visibility. And the static mesh is going to also be visibility. So block everything. There we go. So if I pick up the weapon, I think the foot is still glitching on the weapon. Okay, so let's go back to the sandbox character and set it back to foot placement channel. And then here on the gun, the pistol 1H, we're going to ignore the foot placement channel. Press play, compile, and we're going to make sure that we reset the pistol. So we're going to just drop it again on the table. The reason why the weapon is standing up like that is because if you show up the collision, it's just a square. So the collision is just a square. That's why it's standing up like that. But that's not something that we should be worried about for now, because that's just some like small refinements to the weapon, to the collision of the weapon. So let me see if I have that issue again. Yeah, we still have that issue. Although it's sometimes it appears, sometimes it doesn't. Maybe if you go back to the box collision, yeah, the box also has physics. So we need to ignore it as well. Ignore let's just do overlap for the box as well. And we need to make sure that it changes as well in here. Yeah, I think it changed. So it has to match, the collision settings has to match. So we can make sure that the physics are applied in the world as well. So the physics work. I'm not sure how to replicate that bug. Just have to move the camera a little bit. But I think it's fixed right now. Yeah, I guess it's fixed. Now the character's not going to dance anymore. All right. So when I drop the weapon, I press G. It's funny how the weapon just pops off the character's hand. And now if I try to pick up again, so the can pick up weapon is true. Found pistol is still true. I think we're gonna have to set that variable to be false as well. We cannot have that to be true. So we're just going to get the variable called found pistol. So as soon as we drop the weapon, the detach phase, we're gonna set that variable to be false so that we don't have any bugs. Fragment say looks nice. Is that a template? Yeah, that's the game animation sample template. We just implemented the ALS on top of the game animation sample. The ALS features such as the layering system. So I'm pressing F again, and it says that I already have the same pistol. Okay, I'm gonna have to see that later. So I can just drop the weapon. Now I can pick it up again. I don't know why it's not detecting. So as soon as we drop the weapon, we're gonna have to set its physics back to where it was before. I don't know where. Physics only. Let me just see how it is going to be. The object type is going to be, yeah, so that's just a matter of changing. For the trace responses, I think we can do visibility for now to see how it's going to behave. So we can pick up the weapon, drop the weapon, pick up the weapon again. Now, when you pick up the weapon again, it doesn't detect. let's go back to the pistol 1H and set the object type to be weapon, because strangely enough, I'm not sure why. I'm not sure how my box trace for channel is detecting that type of object, because it only identifies the weapon type. So let's try that. So here as the default value, set the object type to be weapon. And for the default value of the skeletal mesh, we set it to be weapon. Oh, okay. I think I know why. The reason why is because the reason why what is the reason? Okay, let me do something real quick. I think I know what's going on. So I'm going to set this box right here to be disable hidden in game. But what I think is happening is that when you simulate the skeletal mesh physics, the box gets off of this weapon right here from the location of it. So I want to see if that's what I think it is. So as you can see, the collision box is there. As you can see, there is a right next to the pole where you pull the weapon for shooting. There is a box, and I want to make sure that that box is in there after I simulate the physics. So when I drop the weapon, it's gone. It's gone forever. Let me just increase the size of this box. So as you can see, the box is bigger now, but as soon as I drop the weapon, it disappears. So that's the bug that we have there. So that's why you're not being able to identify that. Yeah, it's kind of complicated. Is that a template? Yes. Oh nice. I got some trouble to run it correctly. Now I do it by myself, but in Unity. How did you do also? How did you do also level design? I didn't do the level design. Movement like Uncharted in the division. Yeah, I'm getting the reference of the Uncharted, like for making the movement systems and locomotion. My goal is, of course, you have to set a higher goal so that you can achieve at least like half of it. But with good animations, I think I could achieve a good level of locomotion system like Uncharted or The Last of Us 2, with using blueprints, and you know, it requires a lot of good animations, mocap animations, and refinement. So I need a very big team to do that. But it's very much achievable, I think, in my opinion. Yeah, I guess we can go with the most simple. We can just delete that box. We don't need that for now. If you want to have a more fancy and like precise calculation, you can use the box solution. But as we don't want to go into much in depth with like refining how the character is going to be able to pick up the gun nicely, like as much as nice as possible right now, we can just like move on with a simpler system that doesn't require that much of, you know, settings and setting up this and setting up that. So it doesn't really require that much of complex code to be able to run a more smoother system and more precise, if you get what I mean. So, and this is not really much necessary. It's not going to make a huge difference. It's probably going to be like the same thing, like with the box or without the box, because this box here was here because I wanted to make it so that my trace only detects the middle of the weapon. But I think it doesn't really matter that much. So you can just leave it as that when you select that. And I also need to do another thing, which is I'm going to call a node called draw debug point. And I want to detect what is the current position at real time of the actor itself and the skeletal mesh, because they can separate each other. So if I get the position of the skeletal mesh, so if you don't know what I mean, is that as soon as you put a actor in the world, as you can see, if you press G, of course you can just disable and enable back the, you know, these things in the world that are the icons. You can disable the icons by pressing G in the editor. So as you can see, we have this icon here representing the position of the actor itself. But if you click here on the actor and if you scroll down to the details and if you click on the skeletal mesh, if you try to move the skeletal mesh, you can move. And what's happening here is that the skeletal mesh is away from where the actual location of where the actor is. So I think that's the reason why we're not being able to detect the weapon, and we could potentially have bugs because of this. So we want to make sure that the actor is always together with the weapon itself. And we can do this in many ways. So we're going to try to debug that to see if that's what's happening. So I'm just going to select the color here and the blue. I think the blue color and the green color. The blue color is going to represent the skeletal mesh. So I'm just going to get actor location or get word location. And the size is going to be 20. The duration is going to be 0.1. And this is going to be connecting to the event tick as it is. And here for the position, I'm going to get actor location. Here's the self-reference. And the size is going to be 20 as well. My color, blah, blah, blah. Done. So as you can see, the green one is the actual actor location, and the blue one is actual, and it's the actual mesh location. So when I press F, weapon wasn't detected. So I'm just going to go to skeletal mesh, and let me see. Oh, no query collision. Let me just do collision enabled. Let me see if that's going to glitch the collision of the settings. If it glitches, then we need to go back to the box collision mode. Yeah, it glitches out. So yeah, we need to go back to the. We need to go back. Let's try probe only. Let me see what that makes. What's the difference? Okay, so we don't have that collision setting. Physics only. Yeah. Okay. Let me just do something here. So if you go to the event graph and go to weapon pickup logic, if we get a box trace for by channel, instead, let's see what happens. Yep, the character can pick up. But now I don't know why the character is not picking up the weapon. So as soon as you press F, it goes down to this. Look also on Tom Clancy, the Division. I think their cover is a little bit cooler and got some nice mechanics. Tom Clancy. Core system. Oh yeah, it's a lot more cooler. I think I could make a very similar to this one, but I need the animations, which I don't have right now. Yeah, it's very much doable. Yeah, these mechanics are relatively easy to make. It's just that yeah, they're pretty much doable. You just have to know how to handle the movement when the character is going to the sides, left and right, and corners. The corners are really important to make a system where it detects it as efficient as possible. And that's it. But if you have the right animations and the animations look good, you can pretty much have a good system to work with. What do you think about Godot? I haven't used Godot for a while. I mean, I've never used Godot never in my life, but I think it's a good engine. Is it an engine? I don't know. Godot. Yeah, it's a game engine. Anyways. I don't know why the character is not picking up the weapon. It's very strange. So if I do this, okay, something's off. it is not detecting the pistols because it is identifying the level block instead. Okay. Yeah, if you do, that's the problem with box trace by channel. If you select the trace channel to be visibility, as the trace channel of the block, the block is set to be visibility as well, it's going to identify the wrong thing. So let me just try to make a new collision trace channel so that we can use that to identify our weapon. So here for trace channels, we're going to create a new trace channel. So we're going to type weapon. I think it can be, yeah, duplicate name found. Let's just do weapon channel as it is. Now we can go back to the CPP and the box trace for channel and select the, oh yeah, we're gonna have to, blah, blah, blah. We're gonna have to select and close that first and reopen it. Now we're going to select that trace channel for objects again, trace channel, and select the weapon channel now. And for the pistol 1H, we're also gonna have to do that. So go to object channel. Where is it? Boom, boom. We're gonna have to close that as well. Edit pistol 1H. And in here for the skeletal mesh, we're gonna have to use the object type. I think now it doesn't really matter which object type you choose in here, but it matters which one you choose in here. So the weapon channel is block right now, which is what you want. But the problem is that every other object, like if you click on the static mesh, and you're going to be able to see that it is automatically set to block as the weapon channel, and we don't want that. So what we can do is go to the project settings and go to collision, and the default response to weapon channel is block. So we don't want that. We want to ignore. So as you can see, as soon as we do that, as you can see, all existing objects in the world and potentially like future objects, they are going to be set to ignore, which means that, of course, it basically means that we're not going to want to set all the objects in the world to be identifiable as a weapon, if that makes sense. I think that's pretty much it. So all we need to do now is go back to the pistol 1H and block the visibility for the weapon channel. And that's going to make our trace to identify the weapon. So let's press on play now and let's see how this is going to be. So press F. Weapon wasn't detected. Okay. Very interesting. Okay. Let me just move this pistol in here. And let's check the skeletal mesh to see if it's, yeah, it is block, but I'm not sure why. No, I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why it's not detecting now. And as you can see, as soon as I drop the weapon, as you can see, that green point is referencing, of course, the actual location of where the actor is, and the blue dot is representing where the skeletal mesh is, and which could mean that we could have some other bugs, as like not being able to identify the weapon even if the character is close to the weapon. So I think in the next live stream we're going to be fixing all those bugs. So I'm just going to write it here so that we cannot forget. So the next live stream is going to be about fix the weapon collision with the box collision, and fix the actor location separating pistol actor location separating from the pistol skeletal mesh. So those are the topics we're going to be discussing in the next. So those are the topics we're going to be discussing the next live stream. We're going to improve the pickup, drop logic, improve and finish the pickup and drop logic. And add the holster logic to the system. All right, so that's going to be it. I'm going to let it like this. I think the box trace, you can just delete this. I'm just going to recognize it before I can compile the project so that we can have the code organized before we can continue on the next one, on the next devlog. I don't like those delays here a lot because I don't like to use delays unless you handle them pretty well with blocking movement, blocking the movement input of the character, right? Because they can cause issues. Let's say, for example, the character dies and the delay passes through. Let's say the character dies, for example, here, and after in the delay process, so even if the character dies, he's going to be able to pick up the weapon, and it's going to be funny. We're going to be probably seeing some bugs where the character like dies and picks up the weapon after. So we need to be aware of the possibilities that the character can be at. The possibility of states the character can be at before we can execute those delays. And so usually would add a branch and say, is character alive? So that if the character is still alive, then we can continue with other executions and do this as well. If the character is alive, if it's not alive, then we can cancel weapon the weapon pickup event. So this is just one way of like handling delays. And that's it. That's very much what you gotta do. And in case if this variable changes, if the character dies or anything, we know how to handle it. Let me see if you have any other delays in here. I think those are the 2 ones that we have. Yeah, so that's going to be it for this stream. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm going to compile this project and make it available for you to download on the description down below. So that's going to be it, and I see you in the next one.